Sit back down and shut your trap. It's time for mail call.
Got a package today. So you guys follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I challenge you to guess what was in here with no hints, so it's impossible, obviously. But if you would have guessed correctly, I was going to give you the last half of a giant Christmas candy cane I had from Christmas. Anyway, this is from Midwest Knife Maker. Tracy Mickley runs that company, and I've had very good customer service from them, good parts. I've never had any issues with them at all. He's going to charge you shipping for priority, so you need to order more than one thing. That's kind of how I always think. That way the cost of shipping is split up among more than one thing. For example, I wanted to try a different etchant for my making my maker's mark. I haven't been having too good a luck out of the one I've been using, so I thought I'd try something different. But this is the main purpose of this video. This is ceramic glass. It's like what they use in fireplace windows. I guess regular glass can't take the heat. It'll expand and crack. This is supposed to be able to take the heat. And this is going to go on my flat platen. Now, like a lot of you guys, I built this grinder. A lot of us build our own grinders, and I think probably one of the most common materials we use for our flat platen is an angle iron, which, I mean, it works okay, I guess, but I've been having kind of a weird problem with mine, and this was actually made from a piece of 4-inch by 4-inch angle. I couldn't find any 4x2, so I put it in my, I cut it, rough cut it, to put it in my milling machine and put it down to 2. Well, that was fine, except what happened was, when you do that, you're going to have a nice crisp machined edge on this side, and on this side you're going to have the factory, radius, whatever angle iron, however it's manufactured. So since then, I have tried repeatedly to either file or sand the machined edge to make it match the other. And they look like a match, but I'm seeing a difference in the way my plunge lines looks, and it's driving me crazy. So that's where the whole ceramic glass idea started. I thought, well, that would be a good way to decide, is it this? Is it the way I'm grinding? What exactly? If I start off with a piece of glass here, I'm going to have a exact same radius on both sides. Let me try to explain what I'm talking about in my problem. Let's hope I don't break that piece of glass before I get it glued on. Okay, when you're grinding, as a knife maker, you're used to seeing, let's say we're looking down on where the cutting edge starts, where the 2 plunges meet. So you're used to seeing 2 nice radiuses coming in to your cutting edge. But what I'm getting is, on one side, I'm getting a more squared off look. One's got a nice radius, the other one has got a almost angular look to it. They're lined up with each other, but they have a different shape. When you grind your blade, what I'm getting is on one side, my plunge comes up and has a nice rounded curve to the plunge. On the on the other side of the blade, it comes up and it has a very square look. I've attributed this to that platen not having the same edge on each side. So, and it may not be. It may be some other variable that I haven't thought of. But I want to start with the glass. That should at least tell me, hey, is it the platen, or is it the way you grind, the way you hold your steel? Something. I don't know. Take this platen off. Mine's held on with just a couple of 1/2-inch bolts and washers, and it's slotted so it can be adjusted. But again, this is homemade. It's made out of a piece of angle iron. Probably a lot of us have something fairly similar. if you build in your own grinder, especially if you buy plans, and like the plans I bought, and I think it called for a 9-inch piece of angle arm. And well, you know, you don't know what you don't know. You're new. You've just made your first knife with a file. You're all fired up, ready to go. So you build a grinder. Well, now that you know what's going on a little bit, you realize, well, at 9-inch platen, it kind of stinks because a lot of times you want to flatten a knife a little. I mean, it's not as good as a disc grinder, which I've got one of those too, but a lot of times you just want to do a quick little, get the scale off, flatten it. And I highly recommend, another tip, picking up one of these. It's on Amazon. It's like, I don't know, like $8 or something. It's super cheap. And this is a stout little magnet. But if you're grinding, if you're wanting to, you know, flatten something, it's a pretty nice way to hold it. The problem with the 9-inch length is, if you're making a little caper like this, sure, yeah, you can hold that on there and flatten it just fine. But you start making some big skinners, and see, that knife doesn't fit. You know, this one, just almost. The tip is, or my advice is, think about a real common knife size you're going to be making if you make a lot of hunters or skinners that are ending up around 8.5, 9 inches. If at all possible, I think you should make this platen 10 or 12 inches. You need to give yourself a little bit of room, because you start trying to flatten that and half that, you know, part of that blade's hanging off there, it makes it tough. Since I already feel like I'm a little bit short on my platen anyway, when you look at Tracy's website, he sells this glass in different lengths. He's got 8-inch and 9-inch. Well, you know, my platen's exactly 9 inches. When I go to glue this on there, everyone recommends having some sort of a ledge or a support down here. In the event that the glue failed, you don't want this thing sliding through your contact wheel and exploding. So let me show you a couple of different ways you could do that. I'll just mock up one, and then I'll show you the way I'm actually going to do mine. Okay, with this first method, it wasn't particularly accurate. I just drilled a couple of holes, tapped them 1/4-20. Just get them as close as you can. And the only thing on this that's going to matter, well, there's two things. First, you don't want the head of those screws to be taller than the glass. See, those are pretty good. The other thing is, when it sits down on here, you'd want it to hit them both equally, and the glass also be square to the platen. And actually, I don't know if you can tell there, this is off just a tad. So my holes weren't drilled straight. If they're not straight, grab a file and work the high one down. You know, and just keep test fitting your glass until you got them sitting equally on there and everything's square. This method would work great if I didn't mind giving up a 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch of my platen to the screws, but like I said earlier, my platen's already too short, so I want to do something a little different. But here, this is just an idea for you guys that may already have plenty of room. All right, here's how I'm going to do mine. A piece of scrap metal out of the scrap box. I'll just cut a little piece off of that. I'm going to put the other one up there so it'll kind of shim to keep it level. Then I'll come in here and I'll put a couple of good tack welds on the back to make it permanent. Okay, I've got that lip on there, and And I did notice this glass is, it's not perfectly square, you know, to the sides. When I first laid it on there, it was off, and I thought, well, it was maybe it's a piece of metal I welded, but I got to looking, and the glass itself isn't perfectly square. So I've picked the edge that was the squarest, and I've marked the outside and the part that I want to stay down. And then I did take a file to my lip that I welded on, and I just touched the corner there to where it sits evenly on there and square. So, oh, one other thing, I usually tell you how much I pay for stuff in my videos, but this glass from USA Knife Maker or Midwest Knife Maker, they go by both names. I'm not sure what the deal with that is, but $16.43. And you'll need some epoxy. I'm going to recommend JB Weld based on other people's recommendations. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But we're going to have to get this really clean. And I noticed there's some kind of a black buildup on mine, my Platen. I guess it's from the back of the belts. My Platen's got it's a little bit pitted and wore. If you had a really smooth Platen, you should probably hit this with like a 36 grit belt and give it some scratches. I think mine's got enough natural texture in it already. I'm not going to worry too much about roughing it up. A lot of junk on there. Hit the back side of this glass with that acetone too, just to make really sure there's no residue or nothing on there to impede my bond. All right, let's talk about why JB Weld. You know, my dad and my grandpa used to use this a lot. I really don't use it that often. I had it too, but it had been in my toolbox so long it dried up, so I had to go get a new package. About $4.50 at Walmart. Tracy, he recommends using this. And I think the reason why, if you look on there, and you got to get the original JB Weld. And I think the reason why is if you look on the back of this, I don't know if you can see that. Right there it says it can withstand temperatures up to 550 degrees when cured. So I think this is the big plus to this. I think it can handle the heat from grinding. You know, your cheaper epoxies or even the nice epoxy we use to glue the handle on, I don't really know if that's made for heat. So I think this is a smart way to go. Another little tip of mine. You ever go out to eat and they serve you like condiments or something, these little plastic bowls? I always give me an extra one here and there. You can mix up one round of epoxy in the bowl and even in a small amount in the lid. So. Now I'm just going to try to nest this glass into this epoxy where I can see through that it's got an even seal. You don't want to introduce a lot of weird stress into this glass by clamping on it and pushing it. You know, you don't want to have it in some sort of a bind. And you can see right through the glass, you can see how good you're doing on the bond. And I can tell I don't have enough over here on this side. So, you know, angle iron's not the flattest stuff ever made, so I think you'll find some people that are kind of really negative about using angle iron for platens because of that. And if you had access to a surface grinder or something, you really probably should have your angle iron ground. You can take a file to a piece of angle iron and go across it. You'll see the hot spots on it. It wasn't designed for that purpose. It's not very flat. JB Weld has a really long working time, like 4 or 5 hours before it sets. Full cure's 24 hours, so you're not in no big rush when you're using this stuff. You got plenty of time to get it right. Yeah, so you can see on once you get it, that surface is a completely even gray. There's no bubbles or voids in there. It's completely in contact with it. And I'm just going to use a little bit of a painter's tape to just keep it from sliding side to side overnight. This stuff has a pretty slow cure, so it may have a little tendency to drift depending on how it's setting. So I'd hate to come over here tomorrow and this thing is sloughed off to the side and I didn't know. It'd be a disaster. All right, a little bit of tape just to keep it from moving, and 24 hours cure. This is late on Friday night. I probably won't even mess with it till Sunday. Then I'll try it out. Okay, it's Sunday. This thing's dried for more than 24 hours. Nothing shifted. Looks good. My tape's JB welded on. I usually run mine, or when I got a straight edge on the Platen, I can just see daylight between the wheels. So it's just, I mean, maybe 32nd, 16th of an inch. Proud of the wheels. Now let's grab one. All right, is it worth putting a glass liner on your Platen? I want to say yeah. This is just a quick pre-heat treat grind. My boy's got a birthday party today, and I was trying to hurry just to finish this video up. Gotta go back to work tomorrow, so. But right there at the top, it turns out pretty, fairly square looking. The other side's kind of the same. So I'd say that's a pretty good match. Better than I was getting on my angle iron edges. The plunges, they look pretty uniform. The radius there, I'm pretty happy with that. It's not perfect because I obviously haven't spent a lot of time refining everything. When I get done with heat treat, I would put more time into it, but I can tell right now that I think they're going to match pretty good. So as far as the way it feels when grinding, it did feel a little different. It's not like night and day. It's not just going to be, I don't think you're going to be completely blown away like this is the greatest thing ever, but it is better. I can tell it's better. It does feel smoother. It's kind of hard to describe. You just have to try it, but it does feel better. I do like it. So for the $20 I spent to do it, and just an hour or two of work, I think it's worth it. I think I'm gonna like it. So you should try it. So anyway, I'll see you on the next one.